Welcome back, guys, to another edition of the Go Earn It podcast. And today I get the pleasure to be sitting down with Coach Ronnie Hewitt. Ronnie, how's it going today?
Man, it's going great. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. So, Coach, I wanted to bring you on because I happen to be following you a long time ago. You started coming out with Mat Masters and your technique videos online. And if you haven't heard about Coach Ronnie Hewitt, Coach, if you could shed light, give a little background on who Coach Ronnie Hewitt is.
I started wrestling in middle school here in Gastonia,
Yep.
and wrestled at Greer Middle School, and went up and wrestled at Ashbrook High School.
Yes.
Placed third in the state as a sophomore, and was two-time state champ, North Carolina state champ, my junior and senior year. After that, went off and wrestled at Appalachian State and played football at App State.
So, Coach, where did wrestling come into play in your life? Was it always did it come from family background? Did you have a passion for it, just wanting to get into it? Who inspired you to wrestle?
It was just in our community where I stayed. We always wrestled.
Sure.
We wrestled each other. We'd go to Boys and Girls Club here in Gastonia, and all the kids get together and start wrestling.
Right.
It was just a talent that I had. I was a little more successful than everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
and my brothers. My brother would cut hair, so we would have a lot of people from the different middle schools come to the house,
Right.
and we just wrestled. Right. My brother would say, "Look, my brother Kevin would tell him, say, I'll cut your hair free if you can slam my brother Ronnie." So that's how it started, man. And I went out in seventh grade, and I didn't have the resources. I didn't have we didn't have a car, so I couldn't get back and forth, and I didn't have my physical, so the coach sent me home in seventh grade. But I came back, wrestled in eighth grade, and went undefeated and won the county.
Wow. So after college, what was your thought process as far as wrestling goes? Was Mat Masters always in the back of your mind? If you could tell our listeners a little, just a little background history of how Mat Masters came about, and what was the idea behind it?
Graduating from college, I wasn't thinking about a wrestling club at all.
Right.
I was thinking about being successful, coming home, and getting a job.
Mm-hmm.
Or starting a business. And I started working for First Union, and was had started IT, and I was talking to a couple of friends, and had went to a couple of wrestling tournaments.
Right.
Went back to take some of the kids out, and just noticed that, watching the little minor mistakes in the wrestling match, saying, man, I can help this kid. We can do something with this.
Right.
And just wanted the start of the club and give back.
So when did the club start? How many years ago?
Man, I think we actually started about 2003.
Wow.
So we've been around for a long time.
Been around for a long time. And so how have you seen the success come up and down? How has it been throughout the years, building it, trying to rebuild, come back down, rebuild? How has that process been throughout these couple of years?
Man, listen, I think I speak for every club. The process is tough because in the sport of wrestling, there's not a lot of money.
True. Yeah.
And trying to find a location for the kids to practice and get wrestling mats and all that can be difficult. So we have to move around several times.
Right.
Just because different situations with leasing and all that. But luckily, the parents have stayed with it. Is actually it grew over the years. We started out, man, with maybe maybe 10 wrestlers.
Wow.
Yeah. So now, I mean, all together, we like this weekend we're going to the North Carolina AAU states.
Yeah.
Not taking 35 and 36.
Right. So throughout the years, tell me a little bit about the accolades you've reached. Some of the champs you've coached, some of the milestones you've hit as far as your accomplishments in the club itself, and through your coaching. Tell me a little bit about some of the kids you've coached up.
Man, I wish I had something to write down.
Oh,
I wish I had wrote it down.
No worries. Just stories,
and
any stories you got, or anything you'd like to shed light on some of your past champions, state champs, national champs. I read, if you look up Ronnie Hewitt and his resume, it's pretty good, I'd have to say. So, just shed light a little bit about, some of those guys you've coached up in the past, and working with, guys like, I recently, when I did research on you, for every podcast, I saw that you recently did a camp with Bubba Jenkins, a few years back, and just talk a little bit about, working around champions. How's that for you?
Yeah, man. We've had a lot of success. Had a lot of success. We had, I think my first state champ was a 2-time state champion. His name is Shane Crenshaw.
Yeah.
And Shane Crenshaw was doing MMA as well. And man, after that, I mean, it just, we had, Dylan Collin. Dylan Collin is fighting right now. Mm-hmm. He's still on MMA. He's over at GMO. We had, Josh Smith, it's a 2-time state champ and a high school national champ. Chase Warren. I don't want to leave nobody out.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. Colin Munson, was a, high school state champ. And I can go on. I just don't have it in front of me.
Sure, yeah, no worries.
We had a lot of kids that achieved success, man, in the program. And I don't want to. I want to, also acknowledge the ones that didn't make it.
Right.
Made it to the state, wrestled wrestled and did well, but like I said, just didn't place.
Right. Yeah.
So we had a lot of guys place. We've had several, like I said, a lot of state champs, a lot of AAU state champs, a lot of AAU national champs.
Yeah.
A lot of success in MMA. And I've actually backed away from the MMA scene.
How come? But, just too much for you?
No, it's not too much, man. And I'm honest. Mm-hmm. I'm honest. I fall a little bit myself, and I did it because I wanted to
try it out. Just to see how it goes. Yeah.
Just to do it right, and had success with it, and it's just I just saw a lot of kids wanting to go right to MMA. Mm-hmm. When they dealt with some type of adversity. Mm-hmm. I lost my job. I'm gonna be a fighter now.
Right.
You sure you want to do that? Do you have a plan? Because you have a window, right? You have a window. You can't fight forever.
Yeah. I run into a lot of guys that for myself that go from either high school or college wrestling. Their first thought process, they don't really think about it. They're just like, oh, I want to fight. Because it seems like in the last, 5-10 years, there's been a change in MMA where it's popular in a sense, not so much watching it, but competing in it. So you get a lot of kids nowadays that are training to be MMA fighters, which in my opinion, there's no problem with. But a lot of these guys don't fully understand what they're getting themselves into, because it's one thing to train MMA and to go to the gym and practice boxing and jiu-jitsu and all these other styles, but to actually step in a cage and actually get your butt whooped or whoop butt, it's a different story. And some of these guys I see or talk to, you got to understand that MMA is it's a whole different animal. And I could see a guy like yourself, when you're coaching some of these wrestlers, they might not understand that, wrestling's not MMA and vice versa. So they got to realize that, you're getting yourself into a whole other different ball game. So I wanted to ask you, with all all the coaching and everything you do, where did the Instagram videos, the Facebook videos come into play? Was that an idea that, you know, you just wanted to start, or how did that come about?
Man, I just wanted to start it up. I was doing with a camp, and I was doing showing some a front headlock series.
Yeah.
And everybody's, man, that's great, you know. And that was one of the main things. Actually, I hadn't did a front headlock series yet. You know, in our videos, but was one of the main it was one of my go-to moves.
Right.
You know, in a match, and you know, I had a lot of people say, man, you should share this information. You should share the videos. And I decided to go ahead and start sharing it. Yeah. And once I shared it, man, people took it, and we pulled in a lot of followers. It was a blessing. It was great.
Yeah, man. I mean, I see you. You know, that's how I caught my eye on you specifically, because, you know, I kept seeing all these Instagram and Facebook videos, and, you know, they're just, you know, technique videos that and I've been meaning to ask, some of those guys that you do technique videos, are those some of the kids you coach?
Mainly it's my son.
Oh, is it? So it is your son. Yeah.
All the kids, right. All the kids are wrestlers that I do coach.
Yeah.
And or I've coached in the past.
Sure.
But Cameron is my son.
Yeah.
And he's majority of the time he's the kid in the video.
And how old's Cameron?
Cameron's 17.
17. So he junior, senior?
He's a junior.
So how did this year go for him?
I tell you what, he wrestled for lost the match to wrestle for fourth and fifth and sixth. I mean,
okay,
for fifth and sixth in the state. Did well, wrestled well.
Yeah.
You know, training now, ready to get back at it.
Yeah, that's good. Good for Cameron.
Yeah, his weight class was tough.
Yeah.
But I question. You know, I think the main thing was him getting to the state and getting to wrestle and saying, hey, I can do this.
Right, yeah. I'm sure that was exciting for him just to say he made it. You know, a lot of kids, you know, that's accomplishment in itself, you know, when they get to say they get to go to state. So I'm sure he has some big aspirations coming in the next year and getting some training in. So that's good for him. Good luck to Cameron. We will make sure we will send him a little Go Earn It package on us just to get him motivated for next year. So what's next for Mat Masters? Any plans this year? Well, tell me about, you know, anything that you're planning on, or, you know, thoughts about, you know, the future for Mat Masters and your camp and whatnot.
Man, first of all, we are. I just talked with Kenny Monday.
Yeah.
So we're planning another camp.
Mm-hmm.
We did a camp. Was it last year? Okay. We did a camp last year with Kenny, and we did a camp with Bubba Jenkins as well.
Yeah.
I know you just had a podcast with Ed Ruth.
Yeah.
So I was on Instagram, and him was going back and forth, trying to set something up. I talked to Jaden Cox, so I'm trying to, you know, my main thing is, man, is, you know, when I share the videos, it's all about sharing something positive.
Yeah, for sure.
We have a negative stuff in the world, it is, you know. So, you know, it's anyway, God bless us with something to give back.
Yeah.
You know, and this was what I used to give back.
Right.
If you follow me on Facebook, you may, or Instagram, you may see me playing the piano or singing. Something like that. So my thing is, I tell the kids, you know, to use their talent, and one of the main things is, you know, confidence right now, encouragement, you know, building them up, you know, and helping them become successful men.
Yeah, that's why I joined. You know, I've been a part of Go Earn It for since it started, but I started working for them after I graduated, and you know, I was just, in my mind, it was like, you know, it's one thing to go out to events and sell apparel, but it's another thing to get these kids motivated. And that's why I wanted to start this podcast, and that's why I went all in on social media, because, you know, a lot of these kids that join the sport of wrestling, they don't really focus on their mind. You know, they're not so focused, more or less, on how to prepare your mind, how to get confidence, how to go through adversity, because, you know, for wrestlers, we're just grind, and then we deal with the injuries and we deal with the weight cutting, and you're not thinking about up here. So, it's great that a guy like yourself, you're putting in the time and effort to give back. And just like that's one of the reasons why I had you on the podcast, is because, you're not just some coach that is out there grilling his kids and all this stuff. You're actually giving your time and effort to make them better, which is everything in this sport. So, Ronnie, I wanted to ask, have you been keeping up at all with NCAAs? Do you watch a lot of college wrestling?
Yes.
So we're getting right into the week of D1s, Cleveland. I will be there next week. I'm so excited. It's my first time ever going to a D1, a Division I national championship. Tell me who you like watching. Who's been catching your eye lately as far as Division I wrestling goes?
Man, I think I posted so many times. I'm a fan of Ohio State. I'm a fan of Penn State.
Yeah.
And mainly, just with last year and the years before, but just how they acknowledge, all of them would say, I want to give honor to God.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. When you're competing in a sport and you have that audience.
Right.
So, I think it's respect when you participate in any sport. And that's what I see with that team. And they just, the wrestlers, man, they always put God first.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, I really admire that.
Right.
We pray before practice. I'm not claiming, I don't preach to the kids, but we pray before practice, and pray after practice.
Yeah.
And I try to inspire them, try to give them something.
Yeah. So tell me about your high school or the area you're living in. Tell me a little bit about where you're at in North Carolina.
We're located in Gaston, North Carolina. We have some great wrestlers.
Yeah.
That's in Gaston County. We have some great clubs around the area.
Yeah.
Besides, I'm older, and I don't. We do compete when we go in wrestling tournaments.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit past it, meaning that I like to. We're out there and we're competing.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting back and kind of just watching, and I'm enjoying.
Right. Yeah.
These young guys, different clubs come up.
Yeah.
Where they may be looking at me and saying, "Man, we got to beat this guy. We got to."
Yeah.
That's all good. The wrestler's going to get good either way.
Yeah.
Go out there, we're going to compete in the tournaments. But man, we have good clubs around here, man. We have some like I said, good kids. We have middle school wrestling.
Yeah.
Really helps out. We have a lot of young kids right now in our wrestling club, like 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
We try to keep our kids in the program and just promote the sport.
Right. Yeah.
So we have that going on.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. With coaching, for myself too, and I'm young, so I can't even imagine all the success, the ups and downs, and the impact you've seen made on wrestlers that have been wrestling since they were in diapers, all the way up until they graduate college. For myself though, especially with the youth wrestlers, it's one thing to coach like a sport like football or basketball, but for wrestling, it's so personal to yourself that when you see a kid, and I've had this before when I've coached a youth wrestler when he was 5-6 years old, and I just recently saw him graduate, and it's like, man, it's crazy how that time goes by so fast, but how incredibly fast the kids just improve in wrestling, because it doesn't matter where you start. It's about the amount of effort and work you put into the sport, because you could start your freshman year of high school or you could start when you were 3 years old. It's about the time and effort and the just the caring you put into the sport. So for yourself, what's besides praying and putting God first and everything, what's one of your big principles as far as coaching goes? What do you really focus on as far as an aspect of coaching?
Man, not giving up.
Yeah.
You know, I sometimes one of my main things that I've noticed over the years,
Yeah.
You know, wrestling in college and then coming home and coaching was totally different.
Yeah.
You know, I ran camps. You know, I worked wrestling camps
Sure.
for years, coming home and teaching in class. You know, you just it's a process.
Yeah, for sure.
But people think that, you know, well, yeah, this guy's a college wrestler or this guy's a NCAA wrestler that won the nationals and that he's good with kids.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't necessarily
pan out that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So, man, it's a lot of, you know, a lot of patience with the young kids. And like I said, you know, I preach don't give up. You know, more of a mentality of, you know, beat them down. You know, whereas, you know, you're staying on them, but then you got to praise them.
Right.
You know, you talk about young kids here. You know, and I always ask parents. I said, you know, did you wrestle when you was 5 years old? I didn't.
Yeah.
And you know, I see it in a lot of tournaments, man. And I kind of over there and talk to the parents and be like, hey, give them a break. But
I love talking about this subject because me and my good friend Lee Kemp, we had a conversation exactly like this one where we call them psycho wrestling dads. Or it's those dads that, one, have never competed in wrestling, and two, they think it's okay to treat their son like, you know, there's some little soldier in an army or something, and they're getting grilled like they're in boot camp. You know, it's crazy to see you know, it's never changed either. You know, when you see it all the time at youth tournaments, you go to a tournament and you know right away who's the crazy dad and who's not, because you know, and you laugh, but it's the truth, right? You know, and I'm not, you know, I'm not lying about it. If you go to a youth tournament, you know, any time, any weekend, you'll find those dads that you see, and they think it's okay for their kids to be yelled at and whatnot, and they're not getting it. You know, you're driving your kid away from the sport. If you're gonna go into a tournament expecting your kid to be number one and he's not, you already lost. You know, you can't put that pressure on a kid, especially at 5. You know, it's one thing to be like that when you're 15, but when you're 5 years old, these kids don't even know how to wrestle. You know, they're just developing their skills and, you know, their mind. So tell me a little bit about what your thoughts about how you manage to keep your cool with parents when you see it all the time.
Man, as far as parents, with our parents, man, you know, we have on our page, MattMastersWrestling.com.
Yeah,
it's a section for parents, and you can click on that, and that section talks about you know, how to deal with it, and we all do it.
Right.
You know,
for sure.
At some point, we want to see our kids do really well.
Yeah.
But the only way to do it, to see them perform well, you know, you have to encourage them, and you have to get them in there and get them. You know, they got to get the repetition. They can watch the video. You can watch a tutorial.
Right.
You know, but you have to drill it. You know.
Yeah.
And I tell my kids, I say, timing is everything. You know, well, you know, we have the parents who say, man, well, why is my son not as successful as this other kid? I said, well, this other kid wrestles year round.
Yeah.
Your son is playing baseball, football, you know, other sports. So you're going to have that sometime. You know, wrestling is a sport where you have to be dedicated.
Right.
And you have to right now, you know, you have to, we have year-round wrestling. So, you know, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I wish, Ronnie, I wish we could spend, you know, 10 more hours talking, because we can go really deep into the sport of wrestling and psycho wrestling dads and everything else. But my last thing is I got 2 more questions. My first one is where can we find you? Where can listeners find out more about Ronnie Hewitt and Matt Masters and everything?
You know, we are on Instagram at Matt Masters Wrestling NC.
Yep.
And then our Facebook page is Matt Masters Wrestling. At Matt Masters Wrestling. I also have a website. It's CoachHewitt.com. It's gonna have. I'm setting it up for video tutorials.
Yeah.
Hadn't finished it yet, but still working on it.
Sure.
And what that will have is DVDs for sale and
Awesome.
videos to tours.
When's the next video coming out?
This evening.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll be on the lookout for that. And coach, my last question for you. First off, I just want to say thank you for being on the podcast. This is a great talk with you. I'm sure we'll have more podcasts we can record in the future. I needed to get you on because you do great work for the kids. You make an impact on the sport, and when it comes to that, we'd love anybody to come on the podcast. So thank you very much. And my last question for you is this. When somebody says you have to go earn it, what does that phrase "go earn it" mean to you?
Man, go earn it, work for it.
Yeah.
You have to work for it. It's not easy.
Right.
You have to earn it.
Yeah.
And I just used that last night. I was telling the kids, we were preparing for the state. I said, you have to earn it, man. You got to work for it.
Right.
And that's a great phrase, man, because you have to. It speaks for itself.
Right. Yeah.
Earn it. You have to work for it. It's not easy. Wrestling is not easy. Life is not easy. So you make it. You make what you make it. The decisions you make today will affect how you live tomorrow.
For sure. You nailed it right on the head. Well, Ronnie, thank you so much, Coach. I appreciate your time, and that's another edition of the Go Earn It podcast. Take care, guys.
Thank you.